need you right now to make some motherfucking noise. YNC in the beat, but now, forever, make some motherfucking noise.
Young Money Entertainment, a hip-hop label active since 2005. Back in the late 2000s, Young Money had a roster that seemed indestructible at the time. Starting off, they had three of the top rappers in the game, Lil Wayne, Drake, and Nicki Minaj, who were either in their prime or in the honeymoon stage of a Hall of Fame career. Lil Wayne, by time Young Money released their first collective album in 2009, was the hottest rapper in the game, coming off dropping two classics in the Carter 1 and 2 2004 and 5, and back with the three-peat in 2008 that became his best-selling album to date, one of the best-selling hip-hop albums in history, and the peak of Lil Wayne's career. Many also call this album a classic, and I would have to agree. Lil Wayne, as far as a songwriter, mixed with lyrical ability, marketing, promotion, youthful energy, Wayne had it all in 2008 and sat comfortably atop the game. His energy and stardom fueled the Young Money start, as anything he touched then led to major success. Drake in 2009 was the hot rookie that couldn't miss after releasing the mixtape's Comeback Season and So Far Gone, that made him one of the most anticipated hip-hop artists to release a debut album. From then, you knew Drake would become a star and had all the qualities to be a viable challenger to the rap throne. He could rap with the greats like Lil Wayne and Jay-Z and harmonize probably better than any rapper in history. The keys and notes he hit weren't typically what impresses R&B fans, but the pocket he found, mixed with the cleverness he has as a songwriter, along with production of 40, set the table for the next decade held by Drake as the best rapper alive. To have he and Lil Wayne on one label should have resulted in no question the best hip-hop label ever. Then you add another infinity stone, Pink of course, in Nicki Minaj. Nicki, in hindsight, was the last of a dead breed. The female rapper that could actually rap just as well as the guys without using the pen of another guy to sound hot. The Foxys, Lil Kims, Missy Elliott's, Nicki Minaj was next in line. But not just next. She, to me, had the chance to be the best female rapper of all time. 2009 was Nicki's Monster era. Kanye West released Monster in 2010, and Nicki showed up on the track with two of the biggest rappers of all time in Kanye and Jay-Z, and another titan in the making, Rick Ross, who was at his peak, and Nicki completely stole the show. Her verse on that song will go down as a hip-hop classic. She, like Drake, was also highly anticipated to release her debut album as the female equivalent to Drake's buzz in hip-hop. Those three alone had the potential to run the game as a label for the 2010s. Throw in a young Tyga who no one knew at the time would become the beacon for ratchet strip club / twerk anthems that would be the soundtrack to the upcoming social media boom. But after that, a bunch of nondescript artists filling the camera lens that never got off the ground. Young Money had promise in 2009, but that's kinda where it all stopped. What happened? Let's talk about it. Salute to Calvin Kendrick for this request. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music. Let's get it, man.
Y'all ready to keep this thing moving?
In hip-hop and rap back in the day, an artist got hot, rode his wave with as many projects as the fans would demand, tour, and get as much out of his light as possible. Then in the peak, or toward the inevitable fall from popular, they put on other artists in the form of their own label as a way to further their time in the sun and venture off more behind the scenes, while the younger acts used their platform to enter their own success. At least that was the popular idea. Lil Wayne had the vision when he created Young Money along with Mac Main. It was also supposed to be Lil Wayne's Cash Money birthright to have something of his own. Young Money was to solidify Wayne's status as a boss in the game, and for the most part it played its role. The label signed Canadian rapper Drake early before no one really knew what he'd become. Nicki Minaj, Tyga, DJ Khaled, and continued filling its roster through the early 2010s with great expectations. Stunt number 1, top heavy. One of the biggest issues with rap labels started by other rappers who are or once were at the top of the game is they start to sign too many acts that they can't possibly cater to in a timely fashion for the new artists to find their own success. We've seen it with Rockefeller, Bad Boy, even G-Unit. It looks good on camera for the lead artist to have a huge crew behind him, all throwing up the same hand signs, but in reality, most of those acts will never see the light of day. And if they miss that very small window right between the lead artist's projects being released, they could miss out on a chance of ever getting their music out as hoped. Young Money was the most top-heavy label in the game as far as that goes. After Drake, Nicki, and Wayne, no one else mattered at the time. Between those three, when was Lil Twist going to get his shine? What about Gutta Gutta, or Flow, Euro, Corey Guns, Chanel, T Streets, Lil Mafioso, Austin Mahone? Wait, is he a wrestler? Nah, he was supposed to be the next Justin Bieber. Oh, okay.
Who are these niggas? I cried laughing when I read it. We need to stay away from these niggas.
Way too many dead-weighted artists that by themselves couldn't sell Avon and was never going to see the light of a solo project in the midst of Nicki, Drake, and Wayne's run from the late 2000s to the 2010s. It was such a drop-off in talent that no matter the marketing scheme, it just wasn't possible. So Young Money just looked more like a big three, instead of a label in contention to run the game until further notice. Stunt number 2, Wayne beginning to lose steam. Even though the label was top heavy and didn't have many artists outside the big three that could be hip-hop stars, the big three were so great that together none of that would have mattered. But just as Young Money got hot and released their 2009 debut album that had a top 10 Billboard song in Bedrock that went 3 times platinum and a complete radio smash, Lil Wayne begins a public feud with his parent label since 14 years old, Cash Money, and who he calls his daddy, Birdman aka Baby, Cash Money's owner. At first, it seemed the two just had differences and things would be resolved very soon. Just a light misunderstanding they had, and a sit down as father and son would work it out. No one knew this would be one of the biggest growth stunts of Lil Wayne's career. Like mentioned, Wayne was on fire early 2010s, in 2011 going 5 times platinum with the Carter 4. Wayne wanted a big payday for the release of upcoming Carter 5, a highly anticipated album, seeing the success he had on the previous and his place as the best in the game. The label refused and Wayne and Baby embarked on a decade-long back and forth behind the scenes and in public legal battle that saw Lil Wayne's music be pushed further and further back, not capitalizing on Wayne's prime like they could have, and he as an artist lost some of his flame. When he did, so did Young Money. The business didn't look in good hands, and if that's the case for Wayne, imagine what that meant for the other Young Money artists. With their leader on hold, the group were as well. No Young Money without Cash Money, as Drake and Nicki ascended on their own major success, surpassing Wayne's popularity in his benching. Stunt number 3, no leadership and soon talent. Cash Money held Wayne back as an artist at a terrible time. Wayne became a hostage on his own label, unable to release and perform new music, and his prime faded away because of it. His time and effort on his situation was now his focus and not the artists on his Young Money label. Drake at some point became too big to be behind any artist on a Kitty Bop label, lending classic verses to songs featuring Lil Chucky or Lil Twist. Drake left the label around 2018 to continue building his own OVO brand, and although Nicki stayed, she as well was too big for the label and began her focus on self as she should have. Tyga left and rebranded himself as the new age Uncle Luke and turned the ratchet/twerk era all the way up. After him, no one else really had talent to stand on their own and pretty much became the entourage and bigger dead weight than artists. All because there was no longer leadership of the big three for their own reasons. They released a few more albums after, but it wasn't the same energy as before. All in all, Young Money was still the initial platform that birthed two of hip-hop's greatest male and female artists of all time. They could have been the new Rockefeller, but for these reasons, they couldn't get out of their own way, along with dragons like Nicki and Drake getting too big to be the help anymore. Salute, much respect, but for these reasons, Young Money's growth was stunted. It's your boy JC, Stunted Growth Music, and I'm out.